Hi everyone, James Egersdorff here, previewing game week 17 on the Fantasy Premier League. The dust has only just settled on game week 16, and what a busy game week that was for fantasy football managers. I had a pretty good week myself. I got 56 points, so I'm up to 48th overall, which is pretty good. It's the highest I've ever been, and so I'm pretty pleased to be inside the top 50. Number of talking points for fantasy managers I felt over the weekend. Some of the key ones being the Liverpool rotation. I think that was really unexpected. I said a few videos ago that I did think there was going to be a problem there, particularly with Coutinho being rotated. I didn't think he'd be rotated for the Derby game, so that was a huge surprise and a real disappointment, I'm sure, for the Liverpool fans that both him and Firmino didn't make the starting team. I think the Man United-Man City game probably didn't come as too much of a surprise, the outcome there. I think two big surprises for me in that one was really how poor Lukaku played. I again said a few weeks ago I felt that he really needed a rest, either physically or mentally. He didn't look quite 100% to me, and I think that showed on Sunday. I think the other interesting thing is City seem to be taking the Premier League and the title race by storm, and they're winning these matches without Aguero in the team, and he's their best player and he didn't even get on the pitch. So there's probably a good chance he's going to play midweek, and again that brings some rotation issues into play for Sterling, Sané, Jesus. I'm pretty sure one of those guys might get a rest midweek. And then the other big surprise was, of course, the shock result, West Ham beating Chelsea. I'd gone for a Chelsea triple. I'd switched out Walker because I did feel United would score against City, and brought in Alonso. And whilst I thought West Ham would give them a tough game, I hadn't really backed them to keep a clean sheet. So credit to West Ham. I thought they dug in and played well, but that was a bit of a shock result. And I'd be hopeful Chelsea can bounce back in the game up at Huddersfield tomorrow night. I think some interesting things ahead of game week 17. I think this one is going to be a big rotation. I think the last midweek round of matches we saw a few weeks ago, a lot of rotation happened there. I think you've got to be wary when we're talking about captains. I think Kane is probably the obvious and safest choice. I think Salah is the best choice, but only if you can be sure that he's going to start. I think Kane, he's playing a Brighton side that for me have a lot of integrity. So the fact that they got beat and played very poorly at weekend against Huddersfield, I think that'll hurt them. And I don't think that'll be an easy one for Spurs. They certainly won't roll over Brighton like Stoke did. Whereas I think West Brom under Pardew, I mean, if I was a Baggies fan, I think that's one of the most uninspiring appointments you can think of. And his results so far have been, less than impressive. I think Liverpool could have a real rout against those guys, particularly if Coutinho and Firmino are back in. Problem we've got there though is really guaranteeing. Klopp has thrown such a curveball with that Derby match selection. We can't really second guess his rotation, at least if we talk about the City guys, Aguero and Jesus. You can pretty much guarantee Aguero's going to play in that Swansea game, so he didn't play at all. Whereas Salah, for instance, got brought off against Everton and he'd only played an hour. So is he going to play on Wednesday? You'd hope so. I think if you're brave enough, he's probably the best captain choice this week. Kane probably the most sensible. I think something else that happened was, unfortunately, the injury to Ramsey. It was coming, sadly, for Ramsey. He does pick up quite a few injuries and he'd had quite a good run in the team. I think if you've got that headache, Richarlison, Zaha, or Sigurdsson, if you've got the money, could be some good replacements there. Richarlison particularly has some good fixtures. But I think overall, my one piece of advice this week, and I'm almost there, I'm 99% of the way there. I quite like the look of Firmino, but that's to one side of the rotation thing. But pretty confident I'm going to carry the transfer, and I'll explain the thinking why. I think there's a number of players on 4 yellows. So Morata, Alonso, who I have, Alexis Sanchez, Sané, Vertonghen, Glenn Murray, Shane Duffy. So I know the latter two aren't real key names, but the former names are listed there. I think it's worth hanging around to see if they pick up another yellow and therefore a booking. And I think because this game is going to be very unpredictable with a lot of rotation, I think you can recover if you've got those 2 transfers at the weekend. You'll have a clearer picture. If, say, 2 of those guys maybe are banned, you're going to know that not only will they miss a game, but it's likely they'll start the next game because they're going to have to sit out the one on Saturday. So that knowledge is quite valuable. I do feel if you're hitting, as viewers will know, I set a weekly target to myself of 50 points. I think if you get out of this midweek game week with 50, I think you're doing really well. I'm personally preparing for a red arrow and a hit. I think I'm going to drop down the rankings. Just looking at my team and looking at the fixtures, I think you could enjoy a really good game week, say if you brought in a couple of Liverpool guys, but that might affect you further down the line. It might disrupt your team. So don't get too disheartened if you don't have a great week. But if you can, carry that transfer. If you've still got 15 players in your team, so you haven't got a full 15 of people that are playing every week, address that now. Now is the time to get that sorted. If you're carrying dead wood, get them out because there's going to be a rotation and it's going to come in this midweek round of matches. Thanks as ever for everyone for reaching out on Twitter. Sorry this is a bit of a shorter video. The turnaround time between the two means I'm a bit pushed for time. Hope that content's been valuable. Keep commenting, liking, subscribing, and thanks as ever for everybody for all your support. Have a great game week. Cheers.